Okie doke. Oh, is everybody ready to learn about Christopher Columbus? The good old guy? Yeah. We're gonna be learning the good old Chris. Oh, hey, Cosmos. You're bright and early. Ready to learn. Oh, also I have to apologize to you, Cosmos, though, because I was I played little nightmares earlier today because I thought, you know, it's a long game, you know, it's not gonna be over. But I was only 30 minutes away from the ending. I didn't realize how short a game was, so I kind of got you out of there, bud. Sorry about that. Yeah, if I knew, I would have saved it for tonight, and we would have finished it up now. We'll get that. We'll get the next one. We'll get the sequel. I heard the guy that was playing with me earlier today, was like, there's like a sequel. There's a prequel. There's a trequel. There's a freaking it's spin-off or something by the same directors. Whole shit ton of little nightmares to get to. So we'll do that eventually. we'll get to that stuff. But yeah, I'll remember next time to keep the little nightmare stuff for Cosmos for late at night. Ooh, this is a yeah. So last time we learned about the Vikings. Yeah, we learned about them. A fucking Leaf and Eric the Red. That asshole Eric the Red, a spicy little guy. And now we're on to the next adventure into the New World for the Europeans. Christopher Colombo. I mean Columbus. Columbo's a different guy, but just as interesting. We're not learning about Colombo. We're learning about Columbus. And we all know the special rhyme. Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1482 or something. He sailed the ocean blue. That's what we know that much, and we're gonna learn more. Yeah, the mobile game is the prequel. The DLC happens at roughly the same time, and the second game is what the okay. There's too much shit going on, Cosmos. I don't know what the hell's going on. You're gonna have to lay it down for me later, because I don't know what the fuck's happening with the little nightmares. Enter a world. Oh yeah, for sure. You know, if you're not, just do what you like. Do what you're enjoying. You're not tied to anything. You have no obligations. You're good to go. Okay, so for Christopher Columbus, we know that there were many people in Europe 500 years ago who believed that the world was flat. I'm looking at you, Cosmos. I know that's what you thought. But there were some who thought it was round. One man begged to have the chance to prove that it was round. He was a seaman and a map maker named Christopher Columbus. Yay! Woo! Columbus. As a child, he had lived in Genoa, which is one of the seaports. I don't have a map of Genoa right now, but it's right there near Italy's, which, as we know, was a great Mediterranean seaport. His father was a weaver who wished to have his son follow his trade. Young Christopher, however, loved the sea. Aye, the sea. Or sea lovers here. We all love the sea. And if you don't love the sea, you better get out of here, because we're all sea lovers right now. Yeah, so his daddy wanted him to be a weaver, but he was like, nah, man, I'm gonna freaking sail boats and shit. As a boy, he would go down almost every day to the busy docks and watch the trading ships come and go. From the sailors, he learned about their ships, about the sea, and about the distant places which they visited. When he was 14, he left his home and went to sea. Whoa, that was young. But I guess that's old enough to get a job then. Back then, I guess they were getting jobs at like 8 years old. Columbus made many voyages. One was to West Africa, another to England. That's a crazy one. England is so bizarre and crazy. And third to a foggy island of Iceland, where he heard sailors talk of a country from away across the Western Sea. Vinland. We learned about Vinland back in the Viking day. This, of course, was the land of Bjarni. That Bjarni and Leif had settled. Leif Erikson and Bjarni. The tales of this land stirred his imagination, and he planned to visit it someday. Columbus had a brother. Oh, who knew? Named Bartholomew. Oh, is this Diaz? Who was a no, it wasn't Diaz. Who was a map maker and who lived in Portugal. This was in the days of Diaz and Vasco da Gama. Wait, is that? Are they the same people? No, they can't be. Columbus went to Portugal to live with his brother. No way. Here he married a daughter of one of Prince Henry's captains. No shit. Okay, so everybody's inbred. That's what we're learning. Everybody's inbred here. Prince of Henry's, like this brother, Christopher Columbus became a mapmaker. Like his brother, Christopher Columbus became a mapmaker. From when he learned by his own experience at sea and from what sailors had told him, he made maps which were better than those in use at the time. He was the premier mapmaker. Mapmaker numero uno. Printing had been invented about the time of Christopher Columbus, and one of the first books to be printed was the Travels of Marco Polo. Columbus read and reread this book. He longed to visit the land of Kublai Khan. From Portuguese writings, he learned of the voyages of Prince Henry's sailors along the coast of Africa. Ooh, the Ivory Coast. Because Columbus believed that the earth was round, he thought that if he sailed to the west over the Atlantic Ocean, he would come to the land of the Great Khan and to India. From his studies, he was sure that by sailing from about 3,000 miles to the west, he would reach Japan, Cathay, or India. Well, I don't think he would have done right if we're in the 1950s now. When Columbus tried to interest people in his ideas, however, they laughed and called him a dreamer. I'm sure that was a nice way of putting it, more like a crazy psycho, crazy guy, a crazy idiot, ignoramus. In those times, as we know, most men thought that if a ship were to venture far from the coast into the unknown sea, great sea monsters would swallow them together with their crew. Many men also believed that ships reaching the end of the sea would fall over the edge of the world into space. Oh, scary. The King of Portugal would not help Columbus with his plan, for Portugal, as we have already learned, was at this time interested in finding a sea route to India around Africa. Bartholomew Columbus journeyed to England. I think that's a typo, or a little typing error in this book. I would say Bartholomew and Columbus journeyed to England to lay his brother's plans before the king. On the way, his ship was attacked by pirates, and he never reached the land. For 7 years, Christopher Columbus waited for some ruler to become interested and help him. During these weary years, his hair turned white, his tall figure grew bent, but he never lost faith in his ideas. And here we have the Santa Maria, the Nina, and the Pinta. Only the Santa Maria, which was a caravel, was decked in. I know what that means, but maybe we'll learn what decked in means. Who knows? Ferdinand, the King of Spain, had refused to assist Columbus, but his wife, Queen Isabella, became interested in his plans. She decided to pay for the ships and supplies herself. It is said that she sold her jewels in order to raise the money needed for the voyage. Oh, that's nice of her. We stan Isabella. We stan her. Then King Ferdinand half-heartedly gave his consent and helped Columbus to get their 3 ships, the Santa Maria, the Nina, and the Pinta. Oh, I guess those are the ships. The Santa Marina was a caravel and had a complete deck. So the caravels were the more advanced ships of the Portuguese. They were like the top of the end epic ships that they used to sail around the south of Africa. I mean, those are the good ones. Other 2 ships had decks only at each end. They were little more than open boats. Oh, so Columbus had some really shit boats. He had 1 good boat and 2 really crappy ones. Although Columbus promised rich rewards, he had great difficulty in getting crew to man his ship. I wonder why. He had trouble when people thought, if you go too far, you'll just get eaten by a sea monster or fall off the edge of the world. Sounds like an easy thing to get people to do. At last, 120 poorly trained men were bribed to go on board. Oh my God. Columbus. Many of these miserable fellows had been in jail and were promised their freedom if they would sail on this dangerous venture. Holy shit. Never did a more willing crew prepare to leave the shores of Europe. I guess that's one way to motivate people. Hey, those crimes, rapes, murders, deaths, whatever. Don't worry about that. You're free. just sail off the edge of the world. Oh, okay. I guess they wouldn't be in prison if they had a little brain in them. On a misty morning in August 1492. Oh yeah, Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492. Yeah. Now we remember that. The 3 ships with banners flying and drums beating sailed from Palos, Spain. The king promised that if the voyage was successful, Columbus would be made an admiral. Oh, sweet. Everybody wants to be an admiral. That's like general. Yeah. The man receive a pension for life and be. Oh, he's already old. He's already old and bent back. I don't know if he needs that pension. And be given a share of the riches he brought back. He was to take possession in the name of the king of Spain of the islands and lands that he might discover. And of these he was to be a governor. The great sails spread out and carried the ships in 6 days to the Canary Islands. There, fresh water, wood, and meat were taken aboard, and repairs were made to the rudder of the Pinta. Setting their course to the westward, we're going west, we're going westerly winds. Columbus sailed his ship out into the unknown sea. The Black Sea, they used to call it, the Atlantic Ocean. They just called it the Black Sea because it was like nothing there. Or so they thought, until Columbus, the crazy guy that he is, was like, the world's round, and I'm going to go around it. I'm going to get around that world, and I'm going to find me to freaking Portugal, or no, he's going to find me Japan. Days and weeks passed. The sailors began to grow worried, for their supplies of food was running low. Then, too, all the winds blew them westward away from Europe into the unknown. The sailors knew that the same winds would be against them when they tried to return to Spain. The crew grew more and more frightened. Yeah, I wonder why. I wonder why they were finding in the middle of nowhere, nothing to do. When Columbus laughed at their fears, they began to talk of taking control of the ships and turning them back to their homeland. A new fear seized them when they came into a port of the sea, which was covered with floating weeds. I wonder where that was. This is a calm place in the Atlantic Ocean and is known today as the Sargasso Sea, which means the seaweed sea. Oh, that's nice. At least they had lots of seaweed to eat. Seaweed's delicious. If you get a chance to eat some seaweed, you should definitely eat some seaweed. Good stuff. Not the fresh. Don't eat fresh. You want to cook it because it does not taste that good when it's fresh. Columbus's ships lay here for 2 days before winds came to blow them farther west. One day, they fancied they saw land. It was only a cloud on the horizon. Ooh, brutal. That sucks. Imagine being like away from home. You think you're floating to your death, and you see land. You're like, oh yeah, it's a freaking landmass. So we can finally get out of here. We can get off the boat. Bam, cloud. That's like real life. That's like, oh, look, that's a Denny's, and it's actually a Benny's. It's not actually a Denny's. It's just a Benny's. And you're like, oh, I thought I was getting pancakes, but no, it's just a freaking Benny's, which is a crappier version of Denny's. Yeah, that's what we get. The crew complained more and more, and Columbus feared an open mutiny. Was forced to put in chain. The crew complained more and more, and Columbus, fearing open mutiny, was forced to put in chains anyone who disobeyed his orders. Would your people in Spain not laugh at you if you returned without discovering new lands? He asked. Even so, the men grew more afraid, and they talked of throwing Columbus into the sea. This doesn't seem like a good adventure for Columbus. It starts off with prisoner. It starts off real shit for him, and it just gets shittier. The sea sucks. Sailing sucks. Discovering land sucks. I don't know why anybody does it. I guess it's kind of human nature. I guess it's fun to explore. I take it back. Exploring's fun. Let's all explore. Let's all go to the sea. Each evening, Columbus wrote down in a diary that the distance which the ships had traveled. Such a record is now known as the ship's log. He always told the crew that the distance was far less than they really had traveled. Oh my god. Columbus thought that the world was much smaller than it is. From his reckonings, he felt sure that they must be very close to Asia. Oh boy, was he wrong. The seamen now began to see many things which told them land must be near. One morning, a sailor spied a carved piece of wood in the water. That afternoon, another sailor fished up a bunch of tree from the sea. These discoveries raised the hopes of the men. Columbus promised a fine suit of velvet. Ooh, velvet suit. That's nice. And a rich reward of money to the first man who should see land. Next day, a bunch of red berries and a strange land plant were seen in the ocean. Nice. Shit's getting good. These were all good signs, and the sailors brought them proudly to Columbus. As darkness fell, few sailors felt like sleeping. Most of them stood on the decks, peering out into the night for some sign of land. About 2 o'clock in the morning, a light glimmered far to the west. as if a light torch was being carried by someone on shore. The hours till morning, seemed long in passing. At dawn, a seaman on the Pinta joyfully signaled that he saw some low, sandy hills. The same day, October 12th, they approached a beautiful green island. They saw people running about among the palm trees. Do we have that? Yeah. There they are. They saw people running around. The boats were quickly lowered, wearing a splendid scarlet velvet cloak and armor, and holding the flag of Spain aloft. Columbus stepped on the shore. His voyage had lasted 35 days. That's it? That's it? And they were complaining? 35 days is nothing. Jeez, I could totally be a sailor. I guess there's not much to do. Maybe there's no internet. Maybe I'd have a hard time being a sailor. But think about it. 35 days to find a whole new land. That's pretty awesome. That's a good sacrifice. I would sacrifice 35 days for that. And freedom. And freedom from murder and killing and stealing. He firmly believed that this island was off the coast of Asia, and that he had crossed the Western Ocean and found a new route to the rich lands of the East. A hymn of thanksgiving was sung by the men, and all of them threw themselves on their knees and praised God for his goodness to them. The crew crowded around their leader and begged forgiveness for their lack of faith in him and their bad behavior on their voyage. Columbus took possession of the land in the name of the King of Spain, and to it he gave the name San Salvador. If you look at the map on page 78, ooh, yeah, here's our map, page 78. You will see this island, which is one of the group now known as the Bahama Islands. West Indies? Yeah. So if we go from Sao Paulo, which is in Spain, we travel down, we go across the Sargasso Sea, and we go to San Salvador. It's right there. Yeah, nice. Boop, 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 boop. This is good music. The first voyage of Columbus and the two voyages of Cabot sailing west from Spain, Columbus reached South America, while Cabot sailing west from England reached North America. Okay. Oh, we don't know about Cabot yet. We only know about Christopher Colombo. You'll see this island, which is one of a group now known as the Bahama Islands. Today, it was called Waddling Island. The brown-skinned natives on the island were shy at first, but when they found the strangers peaceful, they came out from hiding. Big mistake, guys. From hiding places and crowded around the Spaniards, gazing in wonder at their light skins, their dark beards, and splendid clothes. Because Columbus believed that he had reached an island off the coast of India, he gave the name Indians to these brown colored people. In that, remember, this is the 1950s. This is the terms they used. And that name is still given to the natives of the Americas. Not anymore, actually. This is books from the 1950s, so they don't know that we call them natives now, or indigenous peoples of America. Red caps, bells, glass beads, and jugs were given to the Indians to win their friendship. In return, the white men were given spices, parrots, darts, cotton thread, and pieces of gold. Finding no cities on this island, only green forests and yellow huts, Columbus sailed on in search of the land of India. When he put ashore at a place called Cuba by the natives, Columbus thought this must be the land belonging to Kublai Khan's descendants. And again, he was mistaken. He tells us that Cuba men went about with firebrands in their mouths, made from rolling certain leaves into sticks, lighting them and smoking them. This was tobacco. Tobacco. Ooh, the good old wacky tobacco. No, just normal tobacco, actually. The good old tobacco. Settlers who came to the New World after Columbus were to grow richer by raising tobacco than by mining the gold that all the early explorers were searching for. Yeah, that's how you go. The crops and food and vices are the greatest way to riches. If you want to get rich quick, go into addictive hobbies. That's the way to do it. That's bad advice. Don't do that. Don't prey on people's psychological downfalls. Oh, that's not good. It's not good. On the island of Haiti, Haiti, the Spaniards heard of gold mines to the west and made plans to journey there. However, Columbus was forced to change his plans. The Santa Maria ran ashore on a sandbank, turned over on her side, and was wrecked. Oh shit, that was the good ship. 1 second. Keep back. I'm back and ready. We're back and ready. Oh, the Zelda music ain't hidden right. That's better. On the island of Haiti, the wrecked food and clothing were saved. Oh, yeah. It's good music. Okay, music break. Yeah. Food and clothing were saved and heaped onto the beach. Timber from the ship was used to build a fortress. A few weeks before Pinzon, the captain of the Pinta, had sailed off with his ship, hoping to be the first to come to the land of gold. Ah, these greedy bastards. Columbus had only one ship left. He was forced to make plans to return to Spain. There was not room for all the men on the little Nina, so 38 sailors were left in the fortress. Oof. Rough. Then the ship set sail for Spain, taking on board 6 Indians, spices, cotton, brightly colored parrots, and enough gold to interest the King of Spain. Just as the Nina set out, Pinzon returned with his ship. He had found no gold. He was quickly forgiven by Columbus, and the two ships started back on their way to Spain. All went well for the few days until a fierce storm and heavy seas parted the ships. The winds which had helped them when they sailed from Spain now held them back. Ooh, brutal. Who saw that coming? Wave after wave broke over the tiny Nina, and the crew gave themselves up for lost. Thinking the end was near, Columbus wrote the story of his voyage on a piece of parchment, put it into a watertight barrel and tossed it overboard, hoping that it would finally reach the shores of Europe, that men there would know of the success of his journey. All the crew hoped that, by some miracle, God would spare their lives. At last, the sea grew calm. Not far away lay the Azore Islands. Here, the ships were repaired, supplies of food were put on board, and the dangers of the journey were nearly over. Yeah, they're almost home. Yeah, see, the Azores are right next to Spain. If you look on the map there, the Azores are right to the left of Spain, so they're almost home. It was a quick journey. Excited crowds rushed down to the harbor. Okay. Oh, no. 7 months after setting out, Columbus returned. That was fast. That's quick. That was faster than Africa. Spain. Excited crowds rushed down to the harbor to welcome back the men who had crossed the fierce Atlantic Ocean. A great procession was held in the capital city of Seville. Thousands gathered in the streets to view with wonder the six Indians in their native costumes, the birds with their bright plumage, and the great admiral mounted on a snow-white horse. Yeah, Columbus. You did it. When the parade was over, Columbus was ushered into the throne room, into the king's palace. He bowed humbly before Ferdinand and Isabella, but the delighted monarch took him by the hand and led him to a special seat of honor between the royal thrones. There Columbus told the story of his journey. Far to the west, he said, he found many islands, 2 of which he named San Salvador and Haiti. These islands, he believed, were the Indies. He thought Cuba was part of the mainland of Asia. Even in winter, the climate in the new lands was warm. Inhabitants of these islands, handsome, copper-skinned people with straight black hair, whom he called Indians, lived out of doors most of the time. Yeah. He didn't really know much to Columbus. He's not the sharpest tool. He can't really talk to them, I guess. They had little need for much clothing. Their homes were made in the shape of tents, with roofs made of dried palm leaves. Inside, the huts were neat and clean. That's a nice place. I wonder what terrible atrocities await them. Their food was for the most part, fish from the sea, tropical fruits, and cocoa nuts from palm trees. They knew nothing at all of swords or firearms. Swords. Pew pew. For weapons, they used stone knives and spears tipped with sharp-pointed rocks. That's not so bad. Ferdinand and Isabel believed, like Columbus, that he had reached islands of the east coast of the continent of Asia. They agreed that he must make a second voyage. In 6 months, Columbus set off again for the west. This time, money poured in, and hundreds of men begged to be allowed to accompany him. 1,500 sailors, soldiers, farmers, and missionaries were chosen to journey on the 17 fine caravels. Ooh, that's a lot of ships. That's a whole freaking platoon. No, it's like what's it called? A fleet. It's a whole fleet. On this voyage, a more southerly route was taken. The ships in due time arrived at a little island which the Spaniards named Dominica. Ooh, the Dominican Republic. Here the natives treated the white men to a luscious fruit, the juicy pineapple. Ooh, there we are. Here we are, the pineapple. There it is, the luscious fruit. The fortress Columbus had left behind on the island of Haiti was in ruins when he returned to it, and the 38 Spaniards were dead. Ooh, poor guys. I guess it doesn't help when you're on a island by yourself. You don't speak the language, and nobody wants to help you, and you're kind of assholes and you're criminals. Later, he learned that the Spaniards had treated the Indians in a shocking manner and had been killed by them. Yeah, no shit. Yeah, what the criminals were doing to the native population. Another good harbor was chosen, and near it a town was founded. Sailing in search of gold in a passage to India, Columbus discovered the lovely island of Jamaica. Jamaica's nice. When he became ill with fever, he returned to Haiti to recover. The settlers were dissatisfied with their new land and grew quarrelsome. Many had come here believing that they could grow rich overnight without doing a great amount of work. Ain't that the truth? It's freaking classic. When things did not turn out as they had expected, they blamed their leader, Columbus. Sick as he was, Columbus dealt with the troublemakers firmly. As a result, he made many enemies. Columbus, you're a brutal guy, bud. You're a trooper. Columbus, he's a real trooper. All these other sailors are like, everybody had we're having a good time. No mutinies, no nothing. But Columbus is dealing with some real troublemakers. When Columbus returned home, no great welcome awaited him, for news of unrest and trouble had already reached Spain. People were disappointed. Oh, poor Columbus. This guy can't catch a break. Well, he did catch one break. then it's back to the status quo for him. People were disappointed when he returned with sweet potatoes, cotton, and Indian corn instead of piles of gold. Dude, you just got new food. That's like the coolest thing ever. It's better than gold. Hedonism, think about it. King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, however, still had faith in Columbus and sent him out on a third voyage with 6 ships. Aw, he got less ships. Poor guy. This time, he was advised to take on even more southerly course. As the ships sailed on to the southwest, the air grew as hot as in a furnace. The sea became calm. The sails hung limp. The tar melted from the ships. Ooh, brother. I guess he was the leader. The crew grew difficult to manage, and the salt meat went bad. How'd that happen? How the hell did your beef jerky go bad? It had taken 35 days for the ships to cross the ocean on the first voyage, but this time with no welcome winds to assist them westward on their way. The journey took 64 days. Ooh, okay, that's brutal. That's brutal. When at last land was sighted, it was a beautiful island of great forest and high mountains. Columbus gave to it the name Trinidad. Trinidad's beautiful. Oysters abundant in the waters around the island, and parrots as large as hens were seen among the groves of graceful, towering palm trees. Nearby, a great current of fresh water from the mighty river poured into the sea and nearly sank the Spanish ships. This current was from the Orinoco, the second largest river in South America. I actually didn't know that. I learned something new. Without knowing it, Columbus had reached the coastline of South America, a great new continent. Sailing on to Haiti, Columbus again found a trouble brewing. Jealous Spaniards seized Columbus, put him in chains, and placed him on board a ship bound for... What the fuck? This poor guy. On his return, Queen Isabella broke into tears when she heard how cruelly he had been treated. She ordered his pardon and release. Another disappointment awaited Columbus. He received the news that the Portuguese seaman, Vasco da Gama, Vasco, had sailed around the south of Africa and had found a sea route to India. Columbus, you got outmaneuvered by our friend good old Vasco da Gama. Da Gama had returned with his ships, laden down with riches. Portugal had beaten Spain in finding a sea route to the east. Poor Columbus. Never made it to India. In 1502, Columbus, although tired and aged, set out on his fourth and most disastrous voyage. This time, he reached the coast of the narrow strip of land which joins North and South America, and which is now known as the Isthmus of Panama. Storm after storm arose, and the ships were nearly wrecked on the coast. When they finally reached shore, Columbus and his men learned from the natives of the ocean beyond this land. Although Columbus never found it, he felt sure that it must be the Indian Ocean. On Christmas Day, he and his men stood on the very land through which the Panama Canal had been cut. Today, this great canal links the Atlantic with the Pacific Ocean. His men grew very troublesome, and Columbus fell ill with fever. He was forced to return home, where he found that his good friend, Queen Isabella, was dead. Oh, fuck. You're screwed, Columbus. Nobody seemed to care about the penniless, bent old man. After 20 years of toil and peril, he said in his diary, "I do not own even a roof in Spain." Oh, brutal, bud. His home was a bare, cheerless attic. There, a short time after he returned, he became very ill and died. What the fuck? This guy has a shitty life. Oh man, poor Columbus. At the time of his death, Columbus still believed that he had discovered the Indies, islands southeast of Asia, and new land to the south of Cathay. He never knew that between Europe and Asia to the west lay two great oceans, the Atlantic and the Pacific, and that between these two oceans lay two new continents, North and South America. Oh, poor Columbus. Poor Columbo. He had a really shit time. But he didn't get much. But he didn't get what he deserved. How America got its name. In the years which followed the death of Columbus, many ships from Spain sailed to the new lands which he had discovered. Some carried men who wished to live in the lovely green islands. Here they grew tobacco, and cotton, and shipped them back to Spain. I wonder how they grew that cotton, though. Any guesses? No guesses. Okay. Other Spaniards came bent on finding a land of gold. Yeah, everybody wants to find El Dorado. You're not going to find El Dorado. Nobody finds El Dorado. They had seen gold jewelry worn by the Carib Indians, and they were eager to find the source of the gold, so that they could become rich. Yeah. Everybody wants to be rich. Tale of Zor, oldest time. Just be content with your tiny apartment and eat your bugs. Yeah, eat your bugs. Nobody cares about you. Just be content with your social media, your slop, your brain rot, and eventually you'll all eat bugs. And you'll like it. Enjoy. Among the men who sailed to the new lands was a seaman named Amerigo Vespucci. When Amerigo returned home, he reported that the land found by Columbus was neither India nor Cathay, but a new world. A few years later, in 1507, a book was published telling the story of voyages of Amerigo. For this reason, the two continents which Columbus discovered did not bear his name, but that of Amerigo Vespucci. Whoa, that's so sad. And are now called North and South America. That's so sad. This poor guy. Why would it? Oh my god, that's horrible. So yeah, that's the story of Columbus. That's the saddest shit I've ever read. in recent memory. This poor guy. Hopefully, he gets redeemed and he can move on. You know. So yeah, that's Columbus. I think at least we still remember who he is, even though he didn't get the continents named after him, and some idiot who just wrote a book got his name on the countries. But hey, you know, you can't win them all, and Columbus certainly did not win a lot. He won one, that's something, but the rest he lost poorly. So yeah, sucks to be Columbus. That's the moral of the story. But hey, his dream was to sail the seas, and he did it. He sailed, and he enjoyed his life, I think, until the end. Not until the end, actually. He kind of had a shitty life at the end. But yeah, I'm not so certain I want to go sailing anymore. I'm not so certain I want to go exploring. Well, maybe I don't want to be the leader, because that seems like a tough job. But maybe you know, as a crew member, I'll go on a little sailing boat, and we'll you know, go from Spain all the way to the Bahamas. Maybe we'll pick up some gold along the way. Who knows? Buried treasure. Who knows? But you know what I know? I know that that term. I do not want to be Columbus. And if I could give Columbus a hug, I would, because he needs a hug. But he's dead, so we can't. And that's the moral of the story. And yeah, we're gonna end the stream there. If anybody's watching, I have a Discord you can discuss the Columbus in. I also just whatever you want. You just post whatever you want. I don't really care. You could post a freaking half-eaten ham sandwich. I'd take a look at that. I can make a comment on your ham sandwich. You can also post, if you want, you could post like just a bunch of eggs. That'd be interesting too. Ooh, squirrels that frequent your home, like squirrels or like little rodents. Post those. I like those. Yeah. Okay. Goodbye. Bye, guys.